Hey guys, Tom Derzapolsky here. I'm your board president, and I wanted to bring you up to speed on a situation that the board is grappling with, and we'll be addressing likely on the agenda for the June board meeting. This has to do with how first responders, so emergency vehicles, the ambulance, fire truck, that type of equipment, accesses homes and common property within Venture Out. Now, let me pause for a second and say they've been successfully doing this for 50 plus years. And security typically will escort those firefighters and professionals, do fam tours and drive around, understand what Venture Out is, the challenges it poses. And they, on their side, have ways of handling that. However, on our side, there is rules in the state of Florida with regard to access that we have to do our part as a community to try and meet. All right. Now, we were developed 50 years ago, right? So we're an older community with narrower roads, etc. But we still have an obligation as a board and as a community. We are you, right? You elected us to try and do our part to mitigate any delays or any obstacles that those vehicles could encounter. So, with that said, the board is taking a look at our current parking rules and the size of our roads and enforcement of rules and what policies are needed to improve the situation to the extent our community can. Okay? How could this impact you? Well, as an example, some driveways have jet skis or boats or trailers, and then the car goes on the street. The car needs to go in the driveway first before cars go on the street. We're going to look at the need perhaps to ensure that golf carts go on the street first. Some of you have developed really incredibly cute and cozy patios in your driveway, and you park on the street. I know that's going to be disruptive for you, but that's likely going to change. And it's something you need to be just made aware of so that you can, plan and figure out how to reconfigure your little porch or if you have space behind your home. But as a community, we must do better, and we're obligated to do so. So just as this develops and comes around, again, it'll be on the agenda for the June board meeting and openly discussed. I encourage you to share your thoughts and your feelings. I hope you'll recognize that as a board, there's some things we can have an opinion on, right? I don't support spending money on the party. I don't support, painting the bathhouse. It's a waste of money. I don't support fixing the clubhouse. It should be condemned, whatever the situation is. But there are other things we have an obligation as a board member. You take an oath of sorts that you will follow Florida statute, that you will ensure that we don't expose as a governing individual, that I won't intentionally ignore or expose the community to liability. And we do this on behalf of the owners. You expect it, you should demand it of us. So even when those decisions are difficult, and for many of the board members, the decision may impact them personally, right? One thing, as an example, is parking at stop signs. This is a practice that's never been a huge deal. It annoys the heck out of some people. I live on a big lot in the back with a round curve, and there is a stop. I don't know if there's a stop sign there, but there's stop, I think, painted on the ground. And I often park my truck there because in front of my house, I have grandchildren and young kids who tend to barrel down my steps and go off across to the lake in that grass area by the pool. And when my truck is parked there, where it maybe should be parked, it creates a visual obstruction and it makes a dangerous situation for my kid. So I'm not loving the idea of not being able to park my truck over where I normally do. If my unit's $3.99 in the back, you can see what I'm talking about. But I'm gonna have to figure out, if the board has this policy, I'm gonna have to figure out how to deal with it, so that I can comply and do my part, but also take into account, I need to now maybe put a little gate at the bottom of my deck so the kids have to slow down before they barrel across the street. Should kids barrel across the street? No. Do they? Because they're kids? Yes. So anyways, I just want you to know this is something that we're unpacking and we're working on. The majority of you, this will have net zero impact. I would like to remind you though that if you rent your home, enforcement for renters coming in, and they roll in and rent a big beautiful home, and it's got 3 bedrooms and have all these people and vehicles, and there is no parking for them. We really must, as a community, figure out how we're going to handle just the parking issue separately. But before that, we've got to develop some policies and some enforcement to do our part to mitigate any delays to the extent possible in our community with regard to responding to a fire or first responders having access. So, anyways, I hope this information isn't terribly distressful for you. Let's participate in the conversation, and I just want to make you aware of it in advance so that you can engage as you wish. And that's where we're at on that. All right. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.